Hi everybody, it's JJ and we're back again for another ASUS PCDIY hardware live stream. Hopefully everybody is enjoying their weekend, or getting ready for the weekend actually, and enjoying their Friday. Hopefully everybody's staying safe, staying healthy, and hopefully you enjoyed a safe and happy holiday, and hopefully everybody's doing all right. This week we've actually got a couple of little sleeper announcements in terms of some new products that you may or may not be aware of. I haven't actually even announced some of these yet in terms of the actual PCDIY group, but of course if you guys are part of our group, you guys are also aware in terms of some of the really cool, hotly anticipated items that we're going to be talking about in today's stream, with of course finally the pending release now for the RYUJIN III, so the last variant that we've got in terms of the release, which will be the white edition variants. So essentially we started this release cycle off with the Noctua variant, and we then followed up with the Noctua aRGB variant, and now we're going to be rounding it out with the actual white edition. So really excited to be able to go ahead and round those out. We've got a really cool addition to our actual ZenScreen, our MB series, our portable monitors with the MB16QHG. This is a really cool high refresh rate actually portable monitor, 16 inches, really good color gamut, really cool revised actually ergonomic kickstand design. It actually supports an optional level of ergonomic mounting options, a lot of really cool things, and we'll talk about that model. We've actually also got some other updates in terms of a new ultra wide tough gaming curved monitor that we're going to be talking about. We're also going to be talking about a brand new addition to our PSU lineup, not the Thor, not the ROG Strix upcoming Aura Gold series, or of course the Loki series, or the Tough Gaming Gold, which is already launched. We're actually going to be adding to the series with a brand new edition with the Prime series of power supplies. So we're going to have another option for those of you that are looking for a power supply series from ASUS. So we're going to have the Prime series of power supplies, 750 watt and 850 watt ATX 3.0, and I'm going to be talking about those models. We've also got some cool partner news updates and a few other items. But with that, let's go ahead and see who we have joining us today on the stream. We've got Erica. Fantastic to have you here on the stream. Thanks so much for letting us know that the audio is sounding good. Hopefully you're having a great Friday. The one, the only Snef, the Grandmaster from up north in Canada. Happy to have you here, man. Always great to have you here. We've got Michael also joining us for the stream. We also have Michael also joining us for the stream. We've got H2O Computers already interested. Prime PSU, wow, neat. Silver, I hope. It's actually going to be a dual color scheme design. I'll actually have a white and kind of black offering, so I'll actually talk a little bit more about that in terms of the design in a little bit. We've got Tech also joining us right here. We've got Vitor. Hey, fantastic. DePoet's a great actually content creator out there. If you guys are not checking him out on his socials, make sure to check him out on all of his social channels. A great and friendly and knowledgeable creator out there. So if you're looking to be able to find out a little bit more about tech and also just get to know a good guy, make sure to go ahead and check out DePoet's. All right, fantastic. So let's get ready to go ahead and kick things off. I've actually haven't checked my UEFI BIOS update list, so I'm going to do that live. So while everybody's here, I'm going to go ahead and jump on my laptop really quick, see if there's actually any pending new updates that might actually be issued. So if you guys have any quick questions before I get into the first round of actually updates, feel free to go ahead and drop them in the chat right now. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can quickly pop in here and see if we actually have any new updates for this week. And also, if you guys have not checked it out, I want to go ahead and link actually a post that I did in the PCDIY group, which is pretty interesting. Let me see if I actually can bring up the image for this, but there is some cool kind of functions and features that I think not everybody's familiar with that we have in our AM5 series of motherboards. So traditionally, one of the things that a lot of users actually end up doing when they go about setting up their system, and let's say they decide to overclock, right? Performance tuning and overclocking is not something you have to do. It's of course entirely optional. But for those users that do want to be able to overclock and they do want to do some form of performance tuning, as some of you may or may not be aware, you do have features such as PBO. And so PBO, or Precision Boost Overdrive, when AMD implemented Precision Boost Overdrive version 2, which introduced support during the Ryzen 5000 series of CPUs in AM4, you essentially had the flexibility of not just going with a global offset in terms of undervolting the CPU, but you could actually go with a per core offset. The challenge though, amongst a lot of users, what I see is a lot of them, they maybe for their knowledge, maybe for expediency, because they just don't want to put in the time and the effort, they go with a global offset. Global offsets are not really efficient or effective at maximizing your clock scaling, and they can sometimes actually hurt you in terms of overall performance, and they're far less forgiving in terms of really trying to figure out where the margin is within your CPU. So one of the really exciting features that we introduced under AM5 was the introduction of our ASUS AIOC technology that we've had for years on our Intel-based motherboards, but we brought it over to our AM AMD based motherboards. And the really cool thing is here is we have an adaptive machine learning model, and this machine learning model essentially will look at your cooler, it'll take a look at your CPU, and then it'll actually do a advanced per core undervolt. So you can actually see right here there's actually an offset that gets implemented specific to your CPU, your cooling solution, and we'll actually make all kinds of other adjustments in relation to all the parameters for the board. So things from like the scalar index, we'll actually go ahead and modify actually all the PBO based parameters. All of these things get tuned automatically for you. And so traditionally, if anybody's actually ever run a per core offset, you literally know that it can take you days. It can sometimes take like an upwards of a week, because you literally have to go through a rinse and repeat cycle of dropping the actual voltage, testing, crashing, and then going through the permutations of actually going through all these variables to find actually a point of stability. The really cool thing is that we also allow for a really streamlined level of adjustment. So if you actually want to go a little bit more aggressive, let's say you dial this in, performance is great, maybe you want to see if you can get a little bit more. You don't have to know all the ins and outs of actually performance tuning or actually all the different parameters that traditionally you'd have to jump into adjust. You literally just have to go to the optimism scale, and the optimism scale you can actually increase it. So you could go like 105 or you could go 110, or inversely, if you actually find that maybe the algorithm is maybe just a little bit too aggressive, which is pretty rare. In most situations, I'd say the hit rate of our algorithm is between 85 to almost 90%. We really have tested a huge number of CPU samples and permutations amongst boards, CPUs, and cooling configurations to really feel confident in terms of the overall relative range that we're dialing in when the actual ASUS AOC implementation gets enabled. But you can scale back or you can scale up, and you don't have to know any other parameters. You don't have to worry about frequencies, you don't have to worry about voltages. And the really cool thing is here is, as opposed to a more aggressive type of OC, which users either use with, like I said, a global offset, or where you get users using a traditional all-core overclock, this is far more efficient and effective at really maximizing the margin, especially when you talk about gaming-related workloads. The other really cool thing too with this implementation is that it does also make other adjustments, like we make adjustments to our medium load boost, we make adjustments to the PBO, to the Fmax. All these things are already automatically tuned for you, so they really do help to kind of boost up performance a little bit more. And the cool thing is, on the higher end boards that also feature, let's say, the dynamic OC switcher, the ASUS AIOC, we'll actually do even more than that. We'll actually automatically enable things like the medium load boost, the PBO with the curve optimization, and also do an all-core overclock. And the all-core OC along with the PBO is all happening on the firmware level. So the great thing is there's no software that you have to worry about or manipulate. This is all going to be dynamic, and you're going to experience just the benefit directly within the operating system. And depending on the current and the temperature of the system, that's actually what will kick you in between either, let's say, your single-threaded kind of more PBO opportunistic clock ramps, or your all-core, which is generally going to be more favorable for like multi-core applications. So it's a really cool feature, really cool level of functionality. I actually have a post on this in the ASUS PCDIY group, and I spent some time to kind of talk about this. Well, actually, maybe I think in another stream, go in to do a little bit more performance tuning. I think I lightly demoed this in one of the prior streams, in the launch streams for AM5, but I did want to go ahead and touch on it. And I also wanted to go ahead and touch on one other feature that we do have that not that many people are aware of, which is called our PBO enhancement option, where we still see some people kind of talking about target temperatures and wondering like, hey, I'm concerned about target temperatures, right? I'm concerned that, you know, when I run my stress test, it's at 90, 95C. The reality is that the CPU is designed for that. It's not a concern, and you're actually undercutting its performance if you kind of want to push below that. We've done some really intelligent load balancing though, and some tuning within the firmware to actually allow you to have a temperature target. So again, if you don't know anything, all you need to do is go and enable PBO, which is a form of performance tuning. It's overclocking, but you can actually go under the 95C with our 90C target, have better performance than the 95C default, and actually only have then a 90C cap as opposed to a 95C cap. If you're willing to take a slight reduction in performance, and it's very, very minimal, but of course you're going to get even lower temps and even overall better power efficiency, you could hit an 80C target or even a 70C target. Having these options is pretty cool depending on your workload configuration, your system configuration, your cooling configuration, and even your form factor. Like if you're going for a really compact build and you kind of want to maximize performance and thermals, this is a really easy way for you to be able to dial things in, and again, not have any understanding of like more complex parameters where you might have to go in and be like, I don't know all of the, you know, 6 PBO parameters and what I should even be dialing in, what are minimums, what are averages, what are maximums. I can literally just go in, pick that target temperature, and we'll make all those adjustments specific to the CPU and to the motherboard that you have. So a really great option. And you can actually stack these. This is really cool. So you can stack ASUS AIOC with PBO enhancement together to even actually get more performance. And I'll show you that in a demo. I actually have some benchmarks already gone ahead and run. Maybe if I have a little bit of time today, I'll show you guys. But I did want to go ahead and touch on that feature, which I think is kind of interesting. Okay. So overall, pretty cool. So let me go ahead and quickly check my UEFI BIOS updates right here. And why don't you guys let me know? Have you guys for anybody running AM5? Has anybody tried the PBO enhancement feature, or have you actually gone ahead and tried the ASUS AIOC predictive functionality? I know for a lot of our Intel users, we get a lot of the Intel users that are very familiar with that feature. But on the AMD side, because we just recently introduced it, well, it's been there since the launch of the AM5 platform. Not as many users have been aware that it is a feature that we offer. So give me one sec here. All right. Go ahead and get that noted in. Hey, Sue Min is joining us. Fantastic. Happy to have you here. We've also got Juke joining us. We've got MUFC 14 is also joining us. We've got Jerry joining us as well. And Connor, man, fantastic to have you here. I love the Prime hardware. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Prime. Hopefully you're going to like the new Prime series PSUs that we're going to be showing off here in a little bit. So I'm just going to quickly check for this UEFI BIOS update, see if we've got any updates for you guys, and then we're going to go ahead and keep moving things along, okay? All right, so next things up, let's go ahead and, while that loads up there, get it ready here. Let me go ahead and bring up actually a cool little partner news that I think we have here. So give me one second. And we're going to talk actually about a cool update from one of our friends. So got this right here. And I think this is actually going to be a cool little addition for those of you who might be maybe considering something on the small form factor side of the fence. So maybe you want to go with a more compact kind of build, and you're a little bit more limited in terms of the thermal solution, but you still want to be able to have something that's going to be cool and quiet. Well, I think you guys will like this, guys. So as you guys know, I do like to try to highlight different items that we have from our partners. And so let me go ahead and see if I got these ones right here from our friends over at Scythe. Yeah, here we go. All right, so this is going to be a new addition. So for some of you may be familiar, the Fuma series is a very popular series of coolers that Scythe has had out, and they are now going to be actually updating the Fuma 3. And so this has already been actually, we have co-worked with them and done validation actually on quite a number of our motherboards, including our small form factor based motherboards. The Fuma 3 is really going to be a great option, I think, for users that are going to be going with something a little bit more compact and going with, like I said, you want to be able to maximize DRAM compatibility and interoperability, and you're also going to be going with maybe something like a small form factor board. So here's our ROG Strix. This is, I believe, our Z790-A. And then here you have our -I, and you can see a large tower heatsink. It's got an offset-based design right here. This allows for a high level of clearance. It's got 6 heat pipes, 6x6mm heat pipes, and a nice finished base. They also revised the actual mounting mechanism to be really nice. It's actually got a spring screw tension-based design, which I think works really well for this type of kind of design configuration, making you feel confident that it's torqued in and that it's evenly balanced across the actual IHS. And you can see right here just how nicely it actually fits in there. I'm a real big fan of tower cooling solutions just because of their simplicity, their reliability. You don't have any additional cables or hoses or things like that. Even from a cable stand-up, it's very streamlined because you either have one fan or you have 2 fans, and they just go to a CPU or CPU optional header, and that's it. You're good to go. But I think this is going to be a really nice addition for those that are, again, looking for something that's going to be on the maybe more compact side, but still looking for an efficient and effective cooler. And I get a lot of people that sometimes wonder, is like, do I have to jump all the way up something like an LC cooler? So we have a fantastic lineup of AIO coolers, right? From 120 to 240s to 280s to 360s, and eventually we'll even have our 420 base cooler. And of course, we got partners that make custom liquid cooling solutions. But the reality is that even for a higher performing CPU, if you guys go back and watch my launch live streams, I've done the 12900K, the 13900K with a tower heatsink. You don't have to use an AIO based cooler. A lot of this depends on really your relative load. So if you're going to be heavily loading your CPU, so you're going to be running a lot of synthetic based workloads or stress tests, sure, you're going to show the difference between, let's say, a really high performing AIO solution and a more basic tower heatsink, right? But for gaming, the temperature under gaming can sometimes literally be 30 to 40 degrees lower than that of a quote unquote stress test. And in that scenario, you can really just go with a good quality tower heatsink, which is cool, quiet, and effective, and efficient at being able to ensure a stable and reliable experience for your system. And actually even have overclocking. Again, I've showed this. It's not a question of like you can't do it or maybe you can do it. It's entirely possible. So I think this is a great option for those of you who might be considering it. I'll drop the link in the chat for those of you who might be interested in it. Right now it is going up on pre-order. On Newegg, I believe it's going to be exclusive right now to the Newegg Sky store. Yeah, so what is that? It's going to be $50. I think that's a very reasonable price for that performance of a cooler. I would feel no problem running that like on a, you know, a 13600, 13700, actually even a 13900, especially if you're going to be running nominal values. You're entirely fine. So overall, I think pretty cool. Little update there from our friends over at Skype. I'm going to go ahead and drop that one in the chat if anybody wants to check that one out. And I'm going to now that I've got my load up here, I'm going to go ahead and check on that UEFI BIOS update. Michael's asking about when we're going to have the 420. The 420 is going to be our ProArt cooler. If you remember, we announced that at Computex. Probably Q3 is probably going to be the overall resident time frame. MUFC is asking, is it possible to undervolt my 5800 X3D? So you have to remember X3D series CPUs have a different level of tuning support than traditional CPUs. They're not really designed for performance tuning, right? They do support overclocking because you can run unlocked memory, right? So you can run unlocked memory dividers, but that also has certain characteristics that you have to account for, whether you're going to be increasing power consumption both at idle and at load. You're affecting, of course, SoC voltage is another factor that you also have to account for. But the easiest way that you can actually check in terms of what options or parameters are allowed for in terms of overclocking is if you check the actual core specifications. You can actually head over to the page. So I'll show you right here. So if you went over to like the 5800 X3D, and you'll actually be able to see what it actually supports. So if you actually have to go into key features, you'll actually see. So you see that you have Precision Boost 2 is supported. That is the only level of adjustment that you have available to you. So other forms of overclocking aren't going to be available to you. Now, again, in terms of what's going to be the most sensible form, the most sensible form would be utilizing, I'd say, a per core based adjustment, right, as opposed to any type of global based offset. But again, a lot of people do global based offsets because they find it more easy. It's not much more, it's nowhere near as lengthy as amount of time, but again, it's not really that efficient. And also, it can actually be sometimes worse because there are favored cores, and there are certain favored cores that you actually don't want to essentially kind of take away voltage from because they're opportunistically going to be turboing more, and they're usually maybe going to be your more performant cores. And this is why it's really important to actually test and then make an adjustment, right? Because you always want to have your baseline. And that's why I always tell a lot of people, some people jump to performance tuning first. Always run through your performance at pure stock values first. Have at least, 3 to 7 benchmarks, right? Whether they're actually synthetic benchmarks or actually games. Something that's demonstrable and consistent, right, that you have as a baseline. And then from there, once you have those baseline metrics, then you can start to make your adjustments. Ideally, make one adjustment at one time. Don't do 2 adjustments at the same time, because that can introduce more variability for crashes and also add more complexity into really seeing where your performance benefits come from. This is what's called asynchronous overclocking. So, for example, is if you did performance tuning on your CPU, you wouldn't then also simultaneously enable a DRAM overclock, whether it's Expo or DSCP or whatever. You want to do each independently. Performance test with your memory and keep your CPU at stock, right? And then from there, you could then performance test with your memory once you know your nominal value on what you can achieve in terms of overclocking. And then you can enable, of course, PBO with your curve, and then also have your memory. And then even there, you can go further, right? PBO with PBO curve optimization and the PBO enhancement, right? And your DSCP, right? And there's all these kind of permutations. A lot of people don't like to go through that because it just requires so much length of time. But the reality is we see so many kind of users when they present issues, and because they've literally just stacked too many things all at one time, and they literally have no idea what is causing their problem because they've stacked all those things at one time, and it makes debugging and understanding where the issue is quite a bit more complicated, okay? Hey Loki, if you won in our crucial live stream, just please be patient. We were out in terms of actually a convention expo, so we'll be following up with our friends over at Crucial for the actual giveaway coordination. Normally giveaways and everything like that takes usually about like 14 to like 30 days overall to, you know, review all the information, send everything, and then start to prep the actual shipment out. So rest assured, if you've gone ahead and sent emails, I will be reviewing those and then making sure we follow up with our partners, and we'll go from there. Okay. All right, so let me go ahead and again check here on my BIOS log and see if we've got any updates. All right. All right. Ooh, came in at 2:45 in the morning. 2:45 in the morning. All right, let's go ahead and check to see in terms of any UEFI BIOS announcements. Oh, wow. 112 updates. That's a lot of updates. All right, opening up the file here, guys. Let's see what we have in terms of our UEFI BIOS releases. And I will have a featured announcement post in the group, guys. So if you want to go back and check and see which motherboards have had corresponding UEFI BIOS releases, you can go back and just check in the PCDIY group. There'll be a featured announcement post, okay? All right, so like always, all the announcements that I generally try to cover has happened generally within about the last 7 to 10 days. So this is going to be from 6/29, so essentially the end of last month, right, all the way to pretty much as of today. So looking at this quick notice, it looks like it's a continuation predominantly of some of the updates we already had in the prior week, which are going to be related to the Socket 1700 based platform. So that's going to be like B760. And looks, yeah, B760, there's also Z690 and Z790. Let me see here. This looks like it's enhancing compatibility on Z690, which is, of course, a very mature platform. For some users that might be running high-capacity M.2 based storage, as well as specialized RAID configurations, there is also a required ME firmware update. I'll go ahead and show for reference here an example of the motherboard that has the actual corresponding update. So give me a moment and I will do that. But just kind of confirming on some of the Z690, it looks like almost the entire Z690 lineup. So we have everything from the Dash A to the Extreme Glacial, the Formula, the Hero, the Apex, the E, the F, the A. All of those got corresponding updates. Same with the B6 series, B660 series, and H670 series. So all the way around, looks like pretty much the vast majority of those updates are going to be relating to 1700. Let's see if there's any other boards that are in here. Yeah, no, it looks like almost C690, B660. Wow, a lot in there. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, and this is also helping to lay future firmware support for future CPU support, so that's also implemented in there. But let's go ahead and take a look at a model that has the corresponding update, and I'll also link you guys to the FAQ guide that we have in our PCDIY group, which provides some more information. So let me go ahead and bring up the board here, and I will have, again, the full listing that will conclude all the information there for you guys if you're interested in that. So let me go ahead and bring up a model here. Again, if you're also running your board without any issues, there's no reason to update. These are, you know, what I would refer as supplemental-based updates that are conditionally specific to certain configurations or hardware. As I noted, they're specific to newer, higher-density M.2-based storage devices, so you may not be in the situation that you have it. And also keep in mind that when you make large updates from one build to another build, as we have outlined in our FAQ document, right, a lot of users forget that changes in underlying microcode and in auto rules can change the fundamental stability of a configuration and a defined set of parameters. So if you've had a defined set of parameters that are working great, and all of a sudden you jump to a UEFI that might be 6 months or 8 months later, the underlying auto rules could be entirely different, right? They're not probably going to be massively different, but they could be different enough that it could change the stability, and it requires you to have to go back and redial in the entire set of values. Now, if you're running stock, Generally, you don't usually see this type of kind of disparity or difference between builds, and it's pretty streamlined. In some situations, you may have to reinstall like core items like your chipset drivers or your graphics drivers, some things like that, and sometimes that's just because the PCI mapping gets kind of updated, but overall it's not too much of an issue. But again, here's the ROG Maximus Z690 Hero, one of the boards that got an update, so you would go to BIOS and firmware. Once you go to BIOS and firmware, you can see right there, from the 5th, right? So just a couple of days ago, there was a brand new UEFI release. Then you'd go through the normal flash and update process. And so, like I said, if you guys are on that side of the fence in terms of a Socket 1700 series board, go ahead and check out your motherboard, because there's probably going to be an update. Again, that list that I have there that I just spot checked, it's pretty comprehensive. And like I said, it covers B series, H series, and Z series. I don't think I saw any on the AMD side of the fence. Okay. All right. So that covers us in terms of those updates. Hey, JC, man, fantastic. Happy to have you here. Thanks for joining us here on the stream. Chadwick saying, is that there any plans to do a new tough team up air coolers? So I think you might be talking about kind of Scythe when we did the Scythe Mugen, right? So we had the Tough Gaming Alliance, where we had the Tough Gaming Alliance, and it was like a branded cooler. That's always a possibility. Right now, I haven't seen anything new from our product management team saying that we have any new planned Tough Gaming Alliance-based products, specifically in relation to coolers. I can tell you that, of course, we're going to continue to expand upon our AIO cooling solutions, where we have the Tough Gaming LC2 going to be coming out probably within the next month and a half or so, right? So those are going to be coming. I'm really excited about that model, but no new specific updates in relation to Tough Gaming and like a co-brand or like a Tough Gaming Alliance-based solution. So, but if you have any feedback, let the partner know that you're interested in, and definitely let us know. And that's something that we can continue to evolve and look at. So D Barkus, hey JJ, apart from the RGB fans, is there any difference between the RYUJIN III 360 Noctua and aRGB? I want to use another set of fans, Lianli, so I'm thinking of getting the Noctua. No, so we actually have a full launch live stream. I'll be talking about the RYUJIN III in a little bit because we have the white model that I'm going to cover, but no. Essentially, if you're looking at the RYUJIN III, they're identical. So it's just the fans. So if you just want to be able to take advantage of the higher performing display, right? You want to be able to take advantage of the longer tube, right? The 8th gen pump, right? All of the other elements, those are exactly the same. So if you don't want the new magnetic daisy chain fans that we have on the RYUJIN aRGB based edition, then yeah, you can go with the Noctua. It is still going to be a shame because those Noctua fans are still going to be much better performing than the Lianli fans. And I can tell you also, our fans are going to be higher performing than the Lianli fans. The Lianli fans are great, but if you're talking about static pressure and airflow and even bearing performance, ours are going to be better. But if you like the aesthetic and you're of course going to add that in with an entire set of other Lianli fans, I totally get why you want to go with that. So yeah, you could definitely go with the Noctua edition and you'd be good to go. Hey PGPCs, happy to have you here, man. Thanks so much for joining the stream. It's been a little bit since I think I've seen you. All right, so that gives us an update there in terms of our UEFI BIOS announcements. All right, guys, and let me go ahead and drop a link for the group. Just in case anybody wants to join the group and check it out, and also look at the UEFI BIOS announcement tab that we'll go ahead and put out. I'm going to go ahead and drop that link in the chat right there. All right, good. All right, next up, I think we've got one other update that I wanted to go ahead and touch on here. This is going to be from our friends over at EK. So this is another partner update. This is actually pretty cool. It's under their Pro series. So for some of you guys that are super fans of RGB, this might be your vibe, but I really love this. One of my personal blocks. So my personal systems right now, I'm running Optimus and I'm running Bits of Power for the actual water cooling solutions that I have. Although I do have one older EK system that I still have, but my primaries are Optimus and Bits Power. But I really love the design of this EK, and EK continues to be a great partner with us in terms of having interoperability and block support. But here it's not a mono block, it's just a traditional CPU block, but I do like to touch on these guys when I do see them. So this is their new Pro series. It's got a really cool, clean pretty much all metal design, stainless steel. So it's got a really nice kind of, I think, Pro Series vibe to it. So if you're looking for, I think, a simple, clean, and refined design, you also don't want to have any additional cables. There are some users that sometimes get concerned over time about cracking, right? Of course, the plastic polymers that are utilized in terms of the blocks that are utilized, right? And so if you kind of care about generally best performance, this is the reason why they have models like the Pro, like the Magnitude, or of course other companies that similarly, right, they essentially go the direction of having a higher quality, right, metal-based material that's utilized for the block construction, right, which generally will provide the highest level of performance, right. Overall, though, I absolutely love the aesthetic on these. I think that they look great. They're very clean, very refined. I think that they would really complement actually both our Silver series of boards, so something like a Prime series motherboard, or they would also complement. Actually, I think our ROG series, even though our ROG series are going to be like monochrome and black, I like the actual kind of two-tone and the point of contrast there. I don't think everything just has to be black, right? But overall, pretty cool design. If you guys are interested in it, they're going to be pre-order right now, $175. You can go ahead and check them out. But again, this is not going to be specific, like let's say a monoblock, which would be specific to a motherboard. This is just a general CPU block, so you can use it on pretty much any ASUS 1700 series motherboard. I'll drop the link there in the chat, and let me guys know. Do you want your block to have RGB, or do you like the really clean and stainless steel design there? All right. Mr. Matt Lee says, we need a 3-fan ROG Tower AIO cooler. I've been talking to the team, there's also some discussion, maybe it might be kind of cool to maybe see if we could do something with our friends over at Noctua, right? We've done, of course, the Noctua-based collaborative-based graphics cards. Maybe we do like an ROG Noctua heatsink, right? Maybe that would be kind of cool. I could see maybe doing something like that. Or maybe, of course, there's the opportunity we have, our course, our ROG certified program, so maybe working with a great partner. There's a lot of other great partners out there, whether you're talking about Scythe, whether you're talking about Deepcool, some great manufacturers. Thermalright makes some really great tower coolers that we could maybe partner with and do something in there and kind of bring that ROG flair and style, but bring, of course, the proven design and the performance that many partners are doing a great job when it comes to their tower-based heatsink solutions, right? HO Computers notes that the block is sick. He really likes it. I agree. I think it's a great looking block. PGPC says the block looks cool. Yeah. Mr. Mallet says, man, yes, this is less of a want and more of a need. All right. Sounds good, guys. Sounds good. All right. I think that's it from partner news right there. So give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and block those off. I think I dropped the link in there. Yes, I did drop the link in there. So I got that guy. And we dropped also, I think, the Skyfuma in there. So let me go ahead and drop those out. Okay. Great. And let me go ahead and round this out here with a pretty cool announcement. So for those of you guys that are, of course, aware, we did announce a little while ago, of course, the upcoming Matrix graphics card, right? So as many of you guys know, we are going to essentially be releasing our flagship and a reintroduction of a very important graphics cards that we've had in terms of our lineup with the Matrix series. Matrix series was a specialized card in terms of its overall design, right? Where, again, if you guys are not aware, the Matrix is going to be the world's first desktop graphics card that features liquid metal in terms of its thermal interface material. It's liquid cool. It features an amazing stylized design. We've had the opportunity to work with a couple of great overclockers in the enthusiast community doing some extreme kind of testing, and we have absolutely just been floored with the performance. Now, one of the really special things about the Matrix is we're going through an ultra binning process, and so we're really kind of hand screening to have the absolute best GPUs possible, and this allows, generally when you bin through CPUs or GPUs, there's different things that you can bin for. You can bin for sometimes leakage. Leakage can be where you can have like low leakage or you can have high leakage. Sometimes a leaky chip, which can be actually hotter, can sometimes maybe overclock better. Inversely, you could have a chip that doesn't like a lot of voltage and is really efficient and lower in temperature, but it doesn't overclock great. Then there are some that are kind of in the middle, but they have great frequency. So there's a lot of different ways to bin. We're binning for frequency because we really want amazing kind of high clock speed performance. That's going to really be one of the key aspects of the Matrix. It will be the fastest out of box experience you can get when it comes to the 4090 GPU. And it's been amazing to be able to see what the community has been doing in these kind of early test trials. So let me go ahead and bring up the result that we've got right here. Some pretty cool stuff. So let me go ahead and bring this up right here. So I'll go ahead and show you guys this cool little just intro animation that we have for the Matrix card. And then we'll go ahead and take a look at what we've been able to reach in terms of the numbers. So here you can see the overall design, really, really cool. You can see, of course, the liquid metal application, the specialized, actually patented protective barrier. That's something that we actually have brought over from our experience of doing liquid metal application within laptops. We were the first to do. And then you have that fully self-contained design, the magnetic daisy chain fans, which are going to be, of course, seen on the RYUJIN III. Overall, very cool. So it was already pretty impressive because when we started to do, of course, the overclock, we were really excited when we kind of took it to the next level, and Splave was able to go ahead and reach nearly at 4 gigahertz, right? 3.94 gigahertz. That's absolutely monstrous. Now, keep in mind, if you're wondering, just kind of for resident kind of perspective, the Strix 4090 OC, which is probably the best overall 4090 on the market. Amazing PCB design, ultra cool and quiet, super performant thermal solution. It's a very impressive card. It's going to realistically be probably averaging somewhere around kind of like 2800 odd megahertz, right? In terms of its operating boost clock. And overclocking, you can probably see maybe 29, almost 3000 in or around there. There's some variability, of course, GPU to GPU. This, of course, is under extreme cooling configuration. And here you're able to see that, of course, with LN2, no specialized kind of hacking or modding, right? Some really, really impressive to be able to see this frequency. But it didn't stop there. You know, it went even further. And recently, we now are able to go ahead and see a result that's absolutely insane. 4 gigahertz. That's crazy. 4 gigahertz on the GPU, an absolutely monster record. We're going to be really excited when the Matrix comes there. Now, of course, this is not what you're going to expect. In the real world, for probably nominal clocks, I can tell you that you're going to comfortably see over 3 gigahertz clock speeds for the Matrix for those you're going to be installing the system inside of a normal desktop, right? Taking advantage of the actual cooling solution and not going under extreme. It will be an ultra limited GPU production, so it is only going to be available in a very, very, very small quantity. But we'll have a lot more information on this in the not too distant future when we get actually to roll this out. I'm hopefully going to be able to get a sample in hand to be able to show you guys and dive into it. But until then, here's just a little bit of cool stuff in terms of what the Matrix has been able to achieve. So pretty excited about its return and its introduction right there. All right, let me go ahead and see. JC says, if I get one, I can promise you I'll do a G. I'm going to make it a full loop. So I think what he's noting there, and actually this is a good time to talk about it. I've had actually a couple of people ask me, JJ, you know, why didn't you guys go with making this like maybe like your Poseidon or something else? The Poseidon was really cool because in the past it actually allowed you to integrate into a custom loop. But one of the things that I think we've seen and kind of has changed even more so over the last couple of generations in the kind of the liquid cool communities, even more aggressiveness at using all different types of coolants. So you have, you know, pastels, you have special kind of pearlescence, you have, you know, all kinds of different types of coolants. And these coolants have a lot of variability in their stability. And you get a lot of people that, you know, 3 months in, 6 months in, 9 months in, they can have all kinds of varying degrees of issues sometimes within their loops. Personally, for me, I run just usually a clear coolant. Maybe I might have a little bit of dye that I might add in if I really wanted a color, but I try to go really with the focus of having stability and consistency within my loop. But we can't control that, right? So if you're going to give users the ability, the concern is that that becomes very challenging when you have an ultra limited production product like this, plus you have the liquid metal application, so many different variables. So our goal was to ensure the consistency in the performance experience of not having the user worry about any of those points or have a potential issue that then they're going to have to come back and you know, try to work with our service and support team, which could be quite problematic because the user is actually the one that introduced the issue there, right? By going with a variable kind of coolant and then do we go with certain approved coolants? Do you not go with different coolants? And so that was a challenge. And that's even a challenge that water cooling companies, liquid cooling companies right now have to deal with when you make blocks that have such level of flexibility to be able to use so many different types of cooling solutions, right? As of right now, we have no plans to change the design, but we're going to continue to kind of monitor feedback from the community. It doesn't mean that you might not see in the future again cards like what we did in the past with the EKWB edition, which was a pre-block card, or something like the Poseidon, which was a hybrid card, which had a block and it also had a normal air-cooled based thermal solution. These are all things that we're going to continue to kind of monitor and collect feedback from the community on, but we're excited about kind of offering something I think is really performant, really streamlined, and offers an amazing ID design, and also just a great experience for the user, right? Where you don't have to do anything. You literally just take it out of the box, put it in the system, and you're going to have the fastest 4090 you can get, right? So that's the goal there. Hey, Mods by Men, how much? Right now, we haven't confirmed the MSRP pricing. Of course, it is going to be our flagship card, so it will be more expensive than any of our current 4090 solutions. So it will be priced higher, of course, than the ROG Strix of 4090. Hey, Remus, happy to have you here, man. Fantastic. If you guys are not checking out Remus, great small system integrator who does a great job, really focuses on the details, a lot of really cool testing he also shares on his social channels. I would check him out. Remus says, noting, miss when NVIDIA let dual GPU video cards be made. I can never afford one. Yeah, so, ASUS was really an innovator in that space where we did really cool cards. Like we had the Ares card, we had the Mars cards. I got the chance to even see our last card that we never released actually to the market, which was a dual GPU variant. We had a lot of really kind of cool, interesting designs, but the reality is that it's also not even just a question of NVIDIA limiting that, right? You also have the game developer support, right? The reality is multi-GPU is just not a factor anymore, right? It's not relevant. So it wouldn't make sense to spend the effort to kind of design a product in that. Although there has been some discussion about reapproaching it for like the creative field, right? And then that kind of gets kind of complicated because do you get gamers assuming that this is a product for them versus a creator, right? So I know Mr. Matt Lee, he actually previously showed in his ProArt based build, he had 2 ProArt based GPUs, and some people was like, what's the point of that? Well, in an application like DaVinci Resolve, or if you have a GPU compute acceleration application, you see each one of those kind of like in the same way that you have more cores in a system when you're talking about the CPU, right? It's just more spaces, right, that the application can leverage to essentially accelerate its workflow. And so we've also evaluated thinking about how we can actually offer maybe a very specialized type of design that could be targeted for professionals and creators, right? Streamlining their installation experience, reducing cables, doing some interesting things. So that's something that we're also evaluating, looking at for the future. But that would probably also ideally not be designated under a gaming line. It would probably be designated under like our WS or our ProArt series of product to be able to offer for clarity, right? So that people don't get kind of confused for its intent, right? All right, guys. So that's some cool updates that we have there on the Matrix. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and get into some of the new product announcements right here. This one's going to be a little bit of a teaser here, so let me go ahead and bring this up. This is going to be a brand new power supply that we're going to have in terms of our edition. This is going to be the Prime series. Let me go ahead and put this right here. All right, so we're going to have essentially 2 models under this lineup. Price series will be a gold-rated power supply, fully modular, ATX 3.0, and it will be coming in at 750 watt and 850 watts. So kind of perfect options for the vast majority of builders out there. The reality is both of those wattages hit the kind of perfect sweet spot, for GPUs like 7600, even a 7900 XT. Be entirely actually fine with a 750 watt power supply. Same thing if you're running like a 4060, 4060 Ti, 4070 Ti. Even 4080, you're fine within that power envelope, right, in terms of what you're talking about. So I think this is going to be a great addition, but without further ado, let's go ahead and actually take a look at the power supplies. Let's see what they look like, because I know that's what everybody's really wanting to see. I'm going to show you the box first, just to show you the box first. So there you guys can see, that's what the box looks like. It's such a great looking box, right? No, that being said, let's go ahead and actually take a look here. You can see it follows already the really kind of cool, I think,
space theme design language that we have on our Prime series motherboards. I think this is going to really go beautifully with chassis like our AP201, of course the Prime series boards which we have for Intel and AMD, right? Then you talk about our dual series based graphics cards which also leverage that same kind of space theme based design, and I think it looks fantastic. Really nice, just clean, minimal design language on here. It's the cool thing that if you notice right there, right though, if you go, is that you have the ability to go either white or black. So depending on your build's kind of color scheme, depending on the dual graphics card you go with, same thing even with the Prime motherboards, because they have black and they also have white, they have silver, it perfectly complements here. So you remember, you don't have to match everything. It's about also having contrast, right, which I really love. But depending on the orientation for the PSU is how you change the color scheme. So you can go with white or you can go with black, either one, right? But overall, very streamlined, very simple, of course, fully modular based PSU, native ATX based 3.0 connectivity with a 12-volt high power connector that on there. You're all good to go in that regard. Dual ball bearing based fans for the actual fan as well. Nice, clean, compact design, and you're going to be good to go. Nothing super complicated, but again, you can see the white or you can see the black, right? So you can go ahead and switch it up. All you got to do is flip it and you're going to be good to go, and that'll allow you to go ahead and change the color scheme. In terms of the kind of cables you're going to have, here's the cables that you're going to see included. So you've got your motherboard power cable, you've got your CPU power cable. It does support dual EPS power connections. You've got that PCI Express 12-volt high power cable connection in there as well, right? You then have your 8-pin PCI Express that's also going to be present there. You then have your SATA cables, and you also have your peripherals, right? So pretty much all good to go, right? The Molex is still useful sometimes for controllers. These are also sometimes used for controllers, or of course, if you have SATA-based SSDs, right? And I like having also the option here that outside of the split tail, right, which these work well for if you've got a graphics card that has like 2 8-pins or something like that. I also like having a single, right, cable, because you have cards like, let's say like a 4070 or something like that, that's just a single 8-pin, right? So it's just nice, clean, consistent. Some people might wonder, is kind of like, where does this sit in relation to the Tough Gaming? The Tough Gaming will offer higher wattages, where the Tough Gaming will go up to a higher wattage level. So right now the max Tough Gaming goes to 1000 watt. We'll also have a 1200 watt, but they also feature a more premium set of cables where they have the fully etched modular cables. So these are going to be nice. They're just standard good quality cables that are already inside the box, but I think this will be a nice addition. I don't have pricing for you yet, guys. It's just a little bit of a teaser to let you know that we're going to be having these guys come out in the not too distant future. So for those that are interested, you're now in the know. We are going to be having these Tough Gaming based Prime series power supplies, and these will be in addition again to, right now we've got our Tough Gaming power supplies, the ATX 3.0s which launched. We have the Lokis, which are also ATX 3.0. We then also have the Thor P2s, and then we have probably coming next month, we have the ROG Strix Aura Gold ATX 3.0 power supplies. Okay. What's the warranty on these? So on this, on the Tough Gaming Gold, it's 10 years. On these Prime series, it'll be 8 years. So still very high. For the vast majority of users, I think that's an extremely long period, right? You're probably going to replace a component or something else, or even the power supply before you would probably be factoring in having to be worrying about the warranty, right? But very competitive in that regard. So 8-year warranty on the Prime series power supplies, and then a 10-year warranty on the Tough Gaming series based power supplies. Lex Luthor, again, if I haven't talked about it, in North America, it hasn't launched. So there's nothing in relation to the PG3 UQXR, okay? Remus PCs knows, looks good. Fantastic, man. Happy to have, again, there, right? Techno's ASUS Stormtrooper, right? Okay, Black Cool, yeah. So again, the cool thing is you have that flexibility that you can go ahead and swap it right now. Connor's going, I'm going to say it now, we need an entire line of Prime products that match the space theme aesthetic. We're working on a pretty interesting idea internally. I can't tell you more about that, but you know, maybe in the future we'll see if something kind of comes out. I'm excited about it. Again, the challenge, of course, also is that when we're designing these products, we want them to kind of complement our product portfolio, but at the same time, we want them to just be a great product standalone. We don't want people to have to be thinking that you have to match everything, right? The reality is, for in the past, right, when you used to buy, I guess, a power supply from, you know, company where there might have been, you know, Seasonic or Corsair or another company, right? You weren't necessarily thinking about matching all the components. You're just like, that's the power supply that I want to bring in for my product. I think ASUS has struck such strong ID design teams, though. We kind of have that sensibility. A lot of people really appreciate kind of matching in components, and aesthetics is a huge part of the PCDIY narrative. But definitely our intent and our focus is to offer a product that fundamentally is just a great product that, regardless if you're going to pair this with even not an ASUS product, although we would love for you to pair it with an ASUS product, whether this is a tough gaming motherboard, a Prime Series motherboard, a ProArt motherboard, it doesn't matter. You can have a stable and reliable experience, and it can still look great, right? So as always, you don't have to kind of match everything up, but it's definitely nice when you have that flexibility, right? I do agree with that statement, though. It matches perfectly with the Prime -A and the white 4070. Let's go ahead and let me do a quick. Let's look at kind of like, I think, the perfect pairing for this. So if I bring up probably the 4060 Ti, something I think in that range, right? Let's do that, and let's kind of put these side by side here, and let's look at those PSUs, and I think it is going to look really good. Let's go ahead and let's see what it would look like. Oh yeah, I'm digging this look right here. I think this would look pretty nice. Okay, and where's my power supply? Yeah, here we go. Okay, so let's see there. There you guys go. So you can get a little bit of the kind of the sense right there from the overall design aesthetic. I think that looks really, really nice. I mean, just kind of look at the design language right there that you have for the Prime Series motherboard. That's the same board that I have right here next to me. You've got the dual series graphics cards right there that I think look great. And again, even the Black Series dual cards I think would look great. And then again, you can also go ahead and swap that right to where you could go to the black, right? So overall, really, really nice pairing. So that is going to be an update that we're going to have there. All right. Give me 1 sec to go ahead and swap these out right here. Stiff competition from Tough Gaming. Yeah, I still think personally for me, the Tough Gaming probably gets the edge. And the main reason why is just I absolutely love the cables. On the Tough Gaming series, they're just those fully etched modular cables I think are really, really hard to beat. They just have just a nice level of malleability and premiumness to them that you would have to spend, I think, quite a bit more money on some nice extensions or some custom cables to kind of be able to get something comparable. Let me see if I can quickly just bring up the images right here. I think I've got these courtesy of Mr. Matt Lee, who of course is joining us in the chat. If you guys are not following us on our socials, check them out. But here you can see this is the 1000 watt, and you can just look at these cables. These cables are great. These are the inbox cables that you get, and this is a very competitively priced power supply. Again, we have in 750 watt, 850 watt, 1000, and we'll have it in the 1200 watt. And these fully etched modular cables, again, really nice, smooth, nice and malleable. They hold just a bit of their actually shape, which is also nice, right? So they're not super sloppy, but they're not, again, super stiff. I'm a huge fan of these. So probably for me, I'm probably going to edge out and say that I would go with the Tough Gaming. But again, the look, if you have the PSU exposed for the Prime series, I think it's going to be great. Because again, so many of the chassis that really people are kind of targeting in the price band for something like these products, you're probably talking about a chassis that's like $90 to about $150. A lot of those chassis don't even have a visible PSU, right? There's literally nothing visible. You have a PSU shroud, so you can't even see the power supply. So it's almost as if you're buying for that preference of going, I matched it to match it, right? So again, that's where it's more important to just know that you have a stable and reliable product that's going to work well and that you can have confidence from, right? So overall, Remus goes, how have the Asus Pro video cards been doing feedback-wise? So right now, we initially launched as an exclusive with our friends over at Falcon Northwest as the launch partner for the ProArt series. So they're just getting ready to actually roll out into the terms of the channel for availability. That'll be a bit later this month. So later on this month, we'll start to actually finally see real-world feedback from the broader set of users in the community that are going to be buying the ProArt cards. I have gone ahead and already given some of the performance information in terms of the thermals and the design points, but I'm a huge fan of them. I think the ProArt series are a great addition that we have. Remember, they're cool, they're quiet, they're very compact, a great offering that we have. And so we're very excited to hear the feedback from the community who have wanted kind of, I think, something in that higher end class of graphics card, but to be more compact and also have that nice, clean, refined design language that the ProArt series is really well known for. So very, very excited to see what happens right there, right? Neither one has been sold yet. So we haven't sold the 4070 Ti or the 4080. If you've kind of seen it pop up, I would probably say it's maybe through like import or something like that, but we have not formally launched them yet in the channel. They'll be formally launching into the channel shortly for the 4080 and for the 4070 Ti. The 4090 is still TBD, so it'll be probably a little bit later on whether or not we will release it, okay? Kevin Daly says, late to the party, but interested in that Prime PSU for a small build for a friend. Yeah, that would be perfect. Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, if you're just looking for like, again, a stable and reliable power supply that looks good, you're going to be good to go. I think those Prime Series offerings are going to be a great option. All right, guys, let me go ahead and before we get into the RYUJIN 3, let me also go ahead and quickly touch on one other new product that I've got quickly here that we are going to be coming out with. I don't have all the pricing yet for it, but I want to go ahead and let you guys know as I try to give you guys the new up-to-date information as we get it on new products that we are going to be releasing. So we do have a new monitor that we're going to be coming out with. This is going to be the TUF Gaming VG34VQL3A. That's a lot of model number, but pretty much what that breaks down to be is it's a 34-inch, so it's an ultra-wide base monitor, curved design, 1500R, 3440 by 1440, 180 hertz in terms of the refresh rate. It does support some great features like our ELMB, which is our extreme low motion blur technology. That's a form of backlight strobing. You have that 1 millisecond greatest gray. That's peak. That's a nice improvement compared to a lot of the panels in the past within this kind of segmentation. 125% sRGB, so definitely very good color gamut coverage. You are going to actually probably see a bit of color pop. Do keep in mind that one of the differences between ROG Strix monitors and TUF Gaming is ROG Strix monitors are factory calibrated, so you get better color accuracy out of the box. Here you have very good opportunity to have very good color accuracy, but ideally for the best performance, you would want to manually calibrate it. I also am a big fan right here that while this is not a full array local dimming or mini LED monitor or a display HDR 1000, the display HDR 400 lets us know that we're probably also going to see much better than standard SDR brightness performance. So if you've got a monitor from 4 or 5 years ago, even sometimes from 3 years ago, check the actual nit rating. I wouldn't be surprised that it might be maybe 250, 300 nits. So here you're going to generally get a brighter image, even at SDR. That gives you just a little bit more punch, a little bit kind of more dynamic range. It looks a little bit nicer, I think, for people, especially in certain game engines. It's nice to have a little bit more of that brightness experience. The display widget center is also one of my favorite features. That essentially just allows you to control the OSD inside of Windows. It means you don't have to physically touch any buttons. You can literally launch a program and you can adjust things like brightness, contrast. You can make all kinds of tweak and tunes and adjustments all inside of the operating system. So I'm a big fan of that. Again, 1500R, it's not a super aggressive curvature. One of the nice features that this monitor has too, similar to like our ROG models that you're now starting to see here, is going to be the integration of the threaded mount. So that means with that little mount right there, you can put things like a camera, you can put like a microphone, you could actually even put a secondary monitor. You can do a lot of different things with that threaded mount. So a lot of nice flexibility that you have with that type of design, okay? Nice clean profile in terms of the overall stand, right, with some integrated cable management. You're good to go. Let me go ahead and bring up right here. Let me check right here. It should be down here at the bottom. Yeah, here's the display widget center software. You can see very streamlined, very easy. For your connectivity, you're going to have 2 HDMI ports, 2 display ports, and an integrated USB hub. I like having the USB hub for basic things like peripheral support. Maybe you have like a wireless adapter for your headset, maybe for like keyboard or mice, or maybe you just want to connect something like a flash drive. It's nice to be able to have that integrated USB hub and kind of clean up the cable management that you may have. In terms of ergonomic adjustment, you've got tilt, right, that's going to be available to you, swivel that's going to be available to you, and height adjustment. So 3 forms of ergonomic adjustment, which I'm always a big fan of. And last but not least, do not forget that all of our traditional LCD gaming monitors, unlike some other manufacturers, we do offer an openly disclosed policy when it comes to pixels, dead pixels, bright pixels, as well as a 3-year warranty with advanced rapid replacement. There are some manufacturers that literally offer a 2-year or even a 1-year warranty, especially on their more entry-level monitors. So across the board on our LCDs, whether you're talking about our most entry-level TUF gaming monitor or even VE series monitors, anything like that, to our highest end LCDs, all of them offer a 3-year warranty. All right. All right, so that is going to be the Tough Gaming VG34VQ L3A. Let me go ahead and drop that in the chat right there for you guys, if anybody's interested in that guy. And if you guys can let me know, did I drop the chat in there for the Prime Series PSUs? If not, I'll go ahead and I'll drop that in the chat. Just in case anybody wants to take a look at that. Oh, let me just go ahead and drop it in there anyways. All right, so that covers us there for the Prime Series PSUs. We got that. And lastly, let me give you one update. I'm not going to cover them, but just for anybody kind of wondering about for the 4060, I'll cover this in another update in the group or something else like that. But some people are wondering about the kind of the lineup that we have, because it sometimes changes between different models. Take, for instance, like we have lots of 4080 models, right? The 4080, we have literally the Strix black 4080, we have the white 4080, over the Noctua 4080, we have a ProArt 4080, we have a Tough Gaming 4080, but we don't have a dual, right? So for the 4060, 4060 Ti, we'll have the ROG Strix, we'll have the ProArt, and we'll have a dual, but there won't be actually a Tough Gaming. So we'll have a little bit more information on that. Just make sure to keep it tuned for those that might be kind of wondering about that. But I know that there's been some questions regarding kind of that. I'll probably have a chart for reference. And of course, you can check this on our website if you ever kind of want to know in specifics to that. But sometimes people wonder, you know, like, are you going to have certain models for certain series? And it gets kind of tricky on whether or not sometimes we make a model for every single specific series. So I just wanted to kind of give some clarity on that side. All right. All right. I think covers that. So let's get ready to go into, let's talk about the RYUJIN III. All right, guys, let me go ahead and bring this up here. All right, so we've got the RYUJIN III White Edition. Let me go ahead and bring up my images here. And again, I think to kind of recap, let's go through and just kind of recap a couple of basic items first. So what are the RYUJIN III models? Again, we have the non-RGB, so a 240 and a 360 Noctua version. Those are with our Noctua IPPC-based fans. We then have a 240 and a 360 aRGB-based edition that's black, right? And then we have the 240 and the 360 aRGB edition, which are white, right? On the black and the white, they're the same exact product. The only difference is the color, and the fans and everything else is exactly the same. So there's no difference in that regard, okay? Now, the next thing is going to be, let's go ahead and quickly talk about here what's new and what's different, right? So again, recapping essentially what's new was we have an 8th gen Asetek based pump, a larger cold plate, right? It's a thicker radiator, so 30 millimeters versus 27. Keep in mind when you're mounting that, that just takes up a little bit more space, right? So you have a little bit less Z height, right, that you have to account for depending on your chassis. They come with the ROG MF12S fans, right? So those are the magnetic daisy chain based fans that also feature the ring barrier based design. The tube length has also been extended. So from 380 millimeters on the RYUJIN II, it's 400 millimeters on the RYUJIN III. The display is the same, it's 3.5, but essentially it's faster, right? 60 frames a second. There's more onboard memory, twice the onboard memory, so this allows for smoother, cleaner animation. I believe Mr. Matt Lee noted about, like, he was able to load up a really extensive, like, GIF or animation that was kind of almost obscenely long that he was able to load in there. So it was pretty cool. The VRM assist fan has also been pretty much entirely overhauled. It's larger, it's higher performing, it has a ring barrier, it has better static pressure and better airflow, so you get much better thermal performance, an aluminum bezel, and again, it's available in white. So those are all the fundamental differences that you have on the RYUJIN III. So what's the same? It's still the biggest display on the market, 3.5 inches. It has a magnetic pump housing. The magnetic pump housing I'm a really big fan of because that means you can either go in kind of the traditional horizontal or you can go in the vertical orientation. So you can switch it to your liking. You also have that flexibility to have single, dual, triple, or quad stat display, right? I believe that's still more than any other manufacturer allows for in terms of the stat display integration. We also have AIDA64 full integration. So you can have options within Armoury Crate, or you can also use AIDA64. And we also include a full 1-year license of AIDA64. So if you just want to go buy AIDA64, that's almost like $30 in itself, but you get that. So you can do benchmarking, stress testing, you can customize the OSD, you can do all kinds of cool stuff. The VRM cooling fan, the body mounting tubing design, so this not affect DRAM, 6-year warranty, and then again, same configurations are available, 240, 360, and the Noctua. So those are all the things that are fundamentally the same. And those are the items that are going to be different. So again, to kind of just quickly recap right here, this is what we're taking a look at, right, in terms of the 3 models, right? So again, the Noctua, the black, and the white. Now let's go ahead and take a look here at our pricing that we're going to have. And then we will take a look at some more information on these units. So give me 1 second right here. And where did I had my image over here somewhere. Where did I put that? Give me 1 second. There we go. Okay. So in terms of the pricing, you're going to see that the white 240 is going to be $289, and then the white 360 is going to be $359. So that is essentially a $10 delta between the black. So it's $10 more expensive if you want the white version versus the black version. Okay, so $289 for the 240, and then if you're looking for the 360, $359. Okay, and if you don't need an AIO cooler, then keep in mind that if you don't need everything that the RYUJIN has, we also still have the Ryu, which the Ryu you can get also in black, and you can get it in white, and has the 8th gen Asetek based pump. It has the older ROG, still static pressure optimized fans, right? They're just not daisy chain, and they're not magnetic, so those are cheaper than the RYUJIN. Still fantastic option. And then we also still have the ROG Strix LC, which is the unit right here next to me, which has no customizable screen, but also comes in white, and it also comes in black. So we kind of have, if you want to think about it, I'd say like a good, better, best offering. So a lot of flexibility in terms of what you have available to you. Okay. Let me go ahead and bring up, I think, some images here for these guys, and we'll bring this up here. So I'll use, let me use the 360 because I think probably a lot of people are going to go with the 360 option. So again, that larger cold plate, the bottom mounted tubes, pre-applied thermal compound, that nice, of course, slatting and venting that's integrated there for, of course, the VRM assist fan, that nice big 3.5-inch display, right? The magnetic daisy chain fans. Those fans look great. And the connector exists on this side and also on this side. So it's on both sides. So regardless of whatever works easiest for you from a cable management perspective, you have it on both sides. There you can even see even that nice attention to detail, even though you don't see that fan. That's pretty cool that even when you remove the pump housing, you don't see it, but the fan itself is also white, right? So again, that's that larger fan with the ring barrier design, right, for improved static pressure, improved airflow. And if you're kind of just wondering if you want to kind of see a little bit of kind of some respective kind of values, let's go ahead and take a look here at a little bit of a chart here. So we can see, if we take a look at kind of some thermal analysis images right here. So here you can see without the VRM assist fan, and here you can actually see with the VRM assist fan, you can noticeably reduce the temperatures. The reality is that most high performing inductors, as well as capacitors and power stages, they have very, very high thermal kind of headroom targets. So it's not usually a concern, especially also on our boards, we have really, really beef and dense thermal heat sinks. So you get very, very good thermal dissipation performance, even if you don't have a lot of active airflow. So it's not super critical, but this is kind of giving an example that it can provide a thermal benefit to the VRM. This can maybe help to stabilize some kind of maybe marginal kind of OC headroom. I think where it's actually going to be more beneficial is going to be for maybe more compact base builds, so kind of MATX base builders and mini ITX base builders, especially with newer kind of PCI Express Gen 4 and PCI Express Gen 5 M.2 SSDs. You get a little bit more circulative airflow that kind of hits that heatsink area, which can be really important because for some of these highest performing drives, you really don't want them to kind of be exceeding about that 80 degrees because they start to thermal throttle. Now, in normal gaming or normal desktop usage, you're probably not going to reach a thermal soak. You're probably only going to be reaching it when you stress test it synthetically using something like ADO or Crystal Disk benchmark. But there are people that get obsessed that they have to see the value presented to them when they stress test it, right? So if you're somebody that kind of really wants that, you need to account that you are actively providing sufficient airflow so that your devices or your components can work accordingly. And so I think that's where you actually would see more benefit. So I'm going to see about maybe having a build and configuration and some other data that I can share with you guys for kind of those type of scenarios. I wouldn't really kind of be super critical with adding that kind of airflow property benefit for the VRM, but it's nice to know that you get that in terms of just giving you a little bit more margin, right? So last but not least here, we can go ahead and just take a look at, I think, how's it look mounted. Now, I don't have any video for the white edition, sadly, so I'm just going to go ahead and show you the black edition, but this will allow you to still kind of get a sense of how it looks, right? Mounted in there, really clean, really nice. You get the hook and the loop fastener that comes included in there for some nice clean and cable effective management. And again, like I said, these fans right here are the magnetic daisy chain design, right? So overall, that covers us for the RYUJIN 3. In terms of availability, you should probably be seeing it pop up in probably about 10 to 30 days, depending on the logistics for the respective e-tailer, okay? Davina knows is looking forward to micro LED monitors. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit. We already made an announcement, of course, for a micro LED based display that we have under our ProArt series, an ultra large format micro LED. There's a lot of cost complexity considerations to micro LED, but rest assured, ASUS has really been on the forefront of offering the most advanced type of display technologies for monitors. We're really the first to kind of push out there mini LED. We've already kind of committed to producing a micro LED based solution, and we're also looking at other exciting panel technologies. We're looking at refresh rate options. We're looking at different types of projection based technology options. So a lot of stuff. Rest assured, we're committed to offering a deep and wide portfolio when it comes to high performance based displays. Has there been any updates for the ProArt AIO coolers released in specs? Nope. Just what I went ahead and announced previously in our Computex announcement. So if anybody's not aware, what he's talking about right here is this really beautiful ProArt. This is the 420 AIO cooler. So we haven't gone ahead and released any more information about this yet. It's still a little bit out, probably at earliest, I think maybe late Q3. It may kind of maybe align with the release of the ProArt chassis, but the ProArt chassis timeline is also still a bit TBD, right? So, but overall, this will be, I think, a very exciting addition to our cooler lineup. But again, I don't think it's really going to be focused for the vast majority of users. This is really for users that are going with a heavy multi-threaded workload, right? Gamers don't need this type of cooling configuration because games don't produce that type of thermal load, right? But users that are running very heavy multi-threaded workload applications can benefit from this type of a higher performing cooling solution, right? But that could equally be said, even for the Ryu and the RYUJIN III and the Strix LC, right? Is that some users kind of buy coolers based just on kind of that comfort of having more cooling than they really need. And in that regard, definitely with the RYUJIN III, it's going to be top of the line performance, right? To be able to keep a cool, quiet system that also gives you really great opportunistic opportunity for kind of boosting up your clock speeds, right? If you want to be able to do things like per core tuning and stuff like that, right? Let me go ahead and just see if there was any other quick questions right there. I do wish for a 360. Thanks for the feedback, Remus. Yeah, we have kind of note for that. And again, 360 does make kind of the most sense, right? Because of course that allows for a broader level of chassis interoperability and compatibility. So that is still something that we're evaluating for the ProArt model. We're not committed to only having just that 420. It's just that's kind of like the, let's say the kind of exciting new addition, right? Because we of course already offer quite a number of 360 based solutions, right? Would like companies to work together at hiding the big cable going across. I'm not sure what cable you mean by going across. I don't really find there's an issue with the cable. The only cable you really have to worry about in AIO would be the AIO pump cable, right? And it really depends on your design, right? Because if you're talking about a very simple and easy cable, don't use aRGB, right? So like if you have like a simple cable that is just for the AIO pump, that could just be a standard 4-pin cable, and it's very easy. And we've already tried to, I think, more optimally route that by usually we put the header like around here or around here to try to kind of streamline that. And if you really take the time, you can kind of curve that. We have talked to our team about kind of doing certain things. I think already with the RYUJIN, we've already tried to kind of make that very clean, because the actual cable, the way it connects into the pump housing, is really nicely and cleanly well integrated, right? So it's, I'd say, less of an issue or less of a concern. It just really kind of depends. The problem is that the more kind of display functionality you want, the more complicated you are making it to have to connect into the motherboard in some respect. And there's not any really easy way to quote unquote make that work better between partners, even if they work together. The only way that you could streamline it would be to do what some users don't like, which is to make something proprietary, right? You could optimally design like specialized headers on the board so that, let's say, the pump block could kind of directly plug into those headers, but then you have essentially a non-open standard. And then you would have people that might say, I don't like that because that's proprietary. The reality is proprietary isn't always bad. Proprietary can allow for real innovation and for a more streamlined experience, but it can come at the expense of people wanting to have consistency and having one device or one product be able to have a high level of interoperability across many different products, right? And that's something even internally we've continued to kind of wrangle with and talk about, where, you know, you see this even with the concept motherboards that we've shown off, right? So if we go back to this, where I know we talked about this, guys, I don't want to spend too much time on it, right? But this is a perfect example of this, right? Where some people don't like cables. I really like cables, but you get people that talk about that the reason why they don't like this is because it will limit the chassis availability, right? Well, the reality is that's a requirement. If you want to eliminate those cables, you want that really kind of clean design, you can't have it all. There's going to be a compromise somewhere, and the compromise is that the chassis will have to be in alignment with the physical product design. Now, the good thing is that the product ecosystem is wide and deep. Just because you have one new product doesn't mean you should negate somebody else's choice or option to have that product, right? We could produce this and we would literally still have almost all of our other products would be the standard motherboards, standard graphics cards, standard chassis that allow for the highest level of interoperability. But it's nice to be able to give a segment of the market and say, hey, if maybe you're just a more basic user and you don't want to deal with any of that and you do want it to be simpler and easier, this is a great choice for you, right? And you can evolve that, right? And so I think that's the approach that we try to be cognizant of, is that we want to be innovative. And even if that comes at the expense of sometimes that, but that can be challenging, because whether it's media, whether it's users, we hope that there's at least enough understanding to know that, hey, we're trying to provide you something that generally is offering you a level of functionality and flexibility that is benefiting you as a user, even if it, like I said, comes at the expense of, let's say, generalized interoperability, right? So a lot of different things to kind of keep in mind in that respect. Okay. Let me go ahead and see. Davina notes, as I like the ProArt aesthetic, makes sense to divide for performance outside of gaming, a bit like the motherboard ultra durable designation. Yeah, it's just the goal really is just, I think, to offer users a clear designation in the marketing and the design. This is not a gaming product, right? Of course, at the end of the day, some of the segmentation isn't relevant, right? The reality is, can you use a Prime motherboard, an ROG motherboard, a Tough Gaming motherboard, a Pro motherboard, and can all of them run Photoshop? Can all of them run DaVinci Resolve? Can all of them run AutoCAD Revit? Yes, 100%. But there may be function, features, design elements that are more complementary to one user in a specific type of workload than another, right? And that's what we're trying to do, is try to make it easier for the user to know that if they go with one specific series, that series has been more tailored for functions, features, and designs to kind of complement that type of user base and that type of workflow. So it's nice to know that you appreciate that. So thank you. All right. I think that covers us there. So that's the RYUJIN 3. I think next up, let me go ahead and bring up the MB series here. So let me go see if I got my images here for the MB16. MB16. All right. And Oh, did I not? I thought I had these. Okay. QHG. All right. All right. So next up, guys, we've got the... This will be the ASUS ZenScreen MB16QHG. So this is going to be in addition to our MB series. If you guys are not familiar, our MB series, our ZenScreen is essentially our portable monitors. We do have an ROG lineup as well, so ROG XG series. Those kind of focus on being the highest kind of refresh rate based models. So we have models that go much larger. They go up to even 17 inches, and you can get like, 240 hertz and even faster refresh rates, right, and whatnot. The MB series go all the way down to like 13 inches. We have models that are truly wireless that also have integrated batteries that feature 10-point touch. We also have OLED solutions, and we now have excitingly started to introduce models that also have high refresh rate. Where traditionally you only saw high refresh rate within our within our gaming portable displays. You're now seeing that in our general displays, which is pretty cool because we've already started to be offering higher refresh rate even on our normal monitors and in our laptops for a few years. That 120 hertz refresh rate just allows for a much smoother desktop experience. When you're opening up folders, it's just that much more snappy. It's a really nice just experience upgrade. So here, this is a 16-inch, 16 by 10. That's really nice. That 2560 by 1600, that increased horizontal resolution is cool. This is a dual orientation based monitor, so you can run horizontal or you can run portrait. So portrait or landscape, either one. An IPS based display, 120 hertz refresh rate. That display HDR 400, especially for a display for a portable display like this, that's really nice because it's very bright. Really complements a lot of, like, let's say laptop based displays, being able to give you a very usable base display even in kind of situations where you have a little bit more bright ambient lighting. 100% DCI IP3, which is fantastic for color coverage. Very, very good. So if you do want to use this as a secondary monitor for workflow, for maybe proofing your video, proofing photos and video, or maybe even connecting to like a phone, or you're connecting to a tablet, that's going to be a great option as well. And with that higher refresh rate, it's also nice, even if you want to connect to something like a Nintendo Switch, right? Or maybe like a console if you're going out and about, or again, even on a phone if you wanted just a larger display. The cool thing here with the L-shaped kickstand is that you'll notice right here is that we've angled this where the kickstand actually has multiple access points in terms of how you can adjust it. So you can easily tilt it up or down, and it holds its position. So that makes it really, really nice in terms of just being able to line it up where you want it to and be able to get the right field of view. We also, you can see here, have the connectors on both the left and the right hand side, and because it's at the base, it means that you don't have these kind of cables sticking out at the top. So it's a really nice kind of clean and organized type of cable design, which I'm really, really a big fan of. Okay. Both USB-C Type-C connectivity with DisplayPort signal support. So that means even things like phones that have USB alt display. HDMI means that you can work it with pretty much anything, like a camera, a console, a smartphone. Doesn't matter. If it has HDMI, you're good to go. And you also have that flicker free and that low blue light based support on there. So very, very nice flexible option. You can of course use this. You're going to see a lot of display here with it being paired with the laptop, but you can easily put this on your desktop. You can position it again in a horizontal or in a vertical orientation. It does have a tripod mount support, which we sell optionally, which allows you to then mount this like a traditional monitor. So that's pretty cool because like you can easily disconnect it. And if you wanted to be able to have a higher line of sight, then you could literally go from throwing this in your backpack to then throwing this on your desk, having it look like a traditional monitor, and then moving it to another room where you then use the integrated kickstand and you have different levels of adjustment. So it's a really nice adaptive display at being able to kind of work whichever way you're going to use it and wherever you're going to use it. So I'm a really big fan of this display here. And here you can again see that flexibility. This does also support the Display Widget Winter software. So again, if you want to be able to adjust all your values in the operating system, you can do that. You can adjust the brightness, the contrast, all of these different values you can all customize within the OS environment. You don't have to physically touch anything on the monitor. So I'm a really big fan of that. Okay, so very lightweight, 1200 grams, 7 millimeters at its thinnest point, right? And nice thin bezel design. So that is going to be the ZenScreen MB16QHG. There you can also see that tripod mount and of course that stand mount that I was talking about that we sell optionally. It is an optional based accessory. For pricing, This is going to be coming in at $399. And again, that's, I think, very reasonable for the overall performance and the specifications of what you have in terms of this display. But we do have portable displays that literally start off at about like a little bit over $100. So it really just depends on what you want, right? Do you want truly wireless? Do you want OLED? Do you want high refresh rate, high color gamut? Do you want a dial? Do you want touch? Do you not want touch? We have, you know, I think maybe close to 20 plus models, 25 models, something in that range of MB series displays. So we probably have a portable display for you, going all the way from 13 inches to what the biggest model that we just recently introduced was the 24-inch model, right? So we have a lot of different portable displays. Does the ZenScreen have wireless? Yeah, so we do have wireless models. So there are ones that have full wireless. For most users, they aren't going to use wireless. You have to remember that with wireless, you still sometimes have to worry about kind of latency, and you also have to worry about kind of the environment and different factors. But I can show you a model here that we do have with wireless if you kind of want to go that route. So I think it's going to be the ZenScreen Go. And we have more than one model, but this is just, I'm going to show you here, just kind of for reference here. So here is the ZenScreen Go. This is the MB16AWP. So this one has wireless mirroring, pretty similar. This one also even includes actually an integrated G sensor, which supports for the automatic rotation support, and it even has speakers, which kind of makes sense if you do wireless, right? Where you might even maybe instantly stream maybe like a PowerPoint or like a video file or something like that, and you wanted to be able to have that flexibility, right? The big difference with these monitors is that you also have an integrated battery. And so that's the other thing. If you want true kind of wireless, how wireless do you want it to be? And so the great thing is with the battery, there's no power that has to physically be even connected, right? So you literally can have this, take it out of your bag, no cable that's connected, and then you could wirelessly mirror it from your laptop or from your phone, right? So you have flexibility. Again, we have all types of options, and you can see right here, we support a range of different wireless transmission options because not all of them are the same. AirPlay is different from Miracast, and that's different from Wi-Fi. So there's different ways to do this. And we also have a really great program. If you guys want a really great option to mirror your displays on your phone or your tablets, on any phone or any tablet, and it works on actually Android, Windows, or even iOS, is GlideX. GlideX is a program, and it's going to start to be bundled with some of our motherboards. It does offer a free version, and then there's like a subscription version. The subscription version goes all the way up to like 2K and like 60 frames a second. It's really, really nice, really cool. It's a really flexible program that if you literally have like a secondary like tablet and you want to be able to use that as like your secondary display, it's a really great option, and one of the best actually applications that are out there. Very few offer the fit, finish, and polish that that program has. So very cool. Remus says, any links for the stands? I have the ROG monitor and I wanted to use an ASUS stand. Yeah, let me see. There's two stands actually that we have. There's the actual, I think the ROG series have actually a different stand. It's a different kind of base, but I will link you to the one that we just released, which would be for that series monitor. But for the ROG series, I believe it's actually a different threaded tripod mount, but I'll have to double check on that, okay? Yeah, so Davina knows you can also use a laptop. Yeah, I mean, you can use a 2-in-1. We have 2-in-1s, and we have ultra thin 2-in-1s like our VivoBook or our ZenBook. Also, we have models like, you know, the ROG Flow, but those are all still going to be significantly heavier, right? And you also have to deal with thermals, and also even the complexity of it kind of like being like a Windows-based device, right? So it's not as streamlined. I think like those 2-in-1 devices can work well when you don't want to necessarily have the secondary display, but you want to switch from kind of looking at your content or working at something, and then maybe you want to show somebody, right? So you can kind of flip it, you can go into tent, or you go into a kind of a different mode, and then you can be like, here, let me show you my work, right? A second display is still a really second display. I know for me, when I like to travel, I take my XG16. I'll show you guys here. This is the one that I have. I have the XG16. This is what I like to take with me when I travel because it's got actually pretty decent speakers. It's a high refresh rate. Actually even supports G-Sync on there, which is pretty cool. It has an ESS Saber DAC and amp. It has a built-in battery. I'm a really big fan of this model right here. This is what I take, and there's no beating the fact of having an integrated secondary display. So when I go with my laptop, I can literally take out this second display and I have another monitor that I can work on, right? So I can move my email over, I can move my web pages over. If I wanted to connect my phone, or I wanted to connect something else to be able to game or watch something on a bigger display that's also brighter, has better color accuracy than what my laptop has, that's really cool. So I love having that flexibility of having another monitor, and it's also very thin and light, right? Where even a laptop's not going to be anywhere near as thin and light as just a dedicated secondary display, right? Yeah, so Remus, the threading mount on the ROG is quote unquote standard, but we actually made an optimized kind of dedicated stand specifically for the ROG monitors that had a nice threaded design to it. I think I have it over here. I don't know if I can grab it quickly, but it's actually a little bit different in terms of the base design. The base design is quite a bit, I'd say, more kind of in user and friendly. What we find some people when they use kind of like their whatever they might have available to them, it becomes a little bit kind of more complicated, right? So I can show you right here. So like here's this model actually comes included with the stand. So this is the one that I know sometimes people have asked about, like, hey, can I get this stand separately? So this one comes in there because it's got a clean kind of design right here. It folds down really nicely. It's fully made out of metal. It has an articulating head, right? So it's kind of cool. But this one we did not sell separately. It only came packaged just with monitors. So that other one is also a little bit different because it's been designed to use kind of in your home, versus this one was kind of designed to be thrown in a bag or a backpack. So either which way. All right, that takes care of that. So that's the ZenScreen MB16QHG, guys. Let me go ahead and just finish kind of recapping right there. So again, those are our additions right there. So we've got the RYUJIN III in white, 240 and 360, and then the ZenScreen MB16QHG. So 3 new additions, and then like I said, some other cool updates where we've got that new Tough Gaming monitor. We've got the Prime series, also power supplies coming out. So some cool updates in that regard. All right, let's get ready to get into the PCDIY Builder Spotlight, guys. Give me 1 second here. Go ahead and bring up my images for this. All right. Give me 1 second here. And if you guys are not part of the community, I would ask you guys consider joining. So the ASUS PCDIY group, it's a fantastic community that we have, about 45,000 members. Great space to be able to talk about all things ASUS and PCDIY related, tips, tricks, insights, build guidance, all kinds of cool stuff, build inspiration. And one of the cool things that we like to do there is also pick from our wide range of users. We've got first-time builders, we have seasoned builders, we have modders, we have overclockers. We all got all kinds of people in there that submit their type of builds, and we like to be able to showcase what they're doing, right? And so I was lucky enough to be able to go to Anime Expo for just a little bit of a day, not even a whole day, but about 1 day I was able to go there. I was able to actually meet up with Ron Lee Christianson. If you guys have not seen him or know of his work, he's of course Blue Horse Studios, absolutely amazing builder and modder. I think really where he's really known from is of course his attention to detail to, I think, bring kind of a graphic sensibility and kind of modeling sensibility to his actual work, right? So different builders have different kind of, I think, approaches to how they define the look and feel of their system. Definitely when you see kind of Blue Horse's Studios vibes, they definitely bring around kind of like sometimes like almost diorama type vibes. There's a lot of kind of modeling work that kind of comes in there, whether it's done with 3D printing, some fabrication work, and then of course even things from like the modeling community. If you do things like tabletop and stuff like that, you can see things like flocking that I'll do in there. A lot of really, really nice attention to detail in terms of painting that's done. So he actually worked with us to have quite a number of builds. He was there also with our friends iBuyPower and Height. And kind of all got together to do some really cool kind of anime inspired builds. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at those. So let's bring this up. Let me go ahead and do this. Give me 1 second here. And give me 1 second to just load these images up here. All right. And
Okay, and I think I've got everything loaded up here. Perfect. Okay. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and I think load up, let's load up Chainsaw Man. So Chainsaw Man was one of the first builds that we've got right here that we're going to go ahead and take a look at. So HO Computer says, Bluehost Studios does some amazing work. Yeah, so some of the really cool things that you're going to actually see right here is that sometimes I'd say from like the build perspective, it's fairly minimal, right? A lot of the, I think, basic components are going to be the standard components you guys would put together in a build. And what really starts to differentiate is, I think, kind of the exterior and how kind of the whole theme kind of comes together to really be able to kind of impart whatever the IP or kind of the design intent was in terms of kind of the look and feel for the system. So if you guys are not familiar, there's an anime that's called Chainsaw Man. So right here, one of the cool things you see is he's got an entire kind of print farm. He's got, of course, traditional filament-based printers. He's got resin-based printers. He actually does some interesting stuff where he actually does hybrid of actually kind of integrating FDM as well as actually resin-based actually printers to kind of get together. And then he, of course, brings his attention to detail with hand painting and finishing. So there's everything from sanding to, of course, to painting to, of course, some kind of model composition and layout all come together. And so right here, you can see the unit before it's getting painted, it's all getting kind of situated. It's all getting kind of worked out. One of the cool things that I talked to him about in this kind of build was he was like, originally, he was actually going to have the character actually on top of the chassis, and then eventually he decided to kind of turn it into a little bit more of a diorama vibe, and I thought that actually worked really, really well in terms of the overall look and feel. And right here you can see just kind of the scale. There's Snackson, who actually helped Ron Lee actually put together the whole system right here, and it overall looks really, really cool. I think this overall build, it just has definitely the feel and the vibe of the anime. Some really cool kind of weathering effects. There's some different ways to do this. You can actually do this through chemicals, where chemicals you can kind of eat away and create patina, but it's really difficult to kind of get it right, and once you go in one direction, it's really hard to pull it back. And so the really cool thing that you see right here is all of this is hand weathered, and so it's all done through painting, right? So you get different types of painting kits that are actually designed to quote unquote be kind of like weathered effects or have a kind of like rust, have these different type of characteristics, and you kind of layer them like layer 1, layer 2, and layer 3, things along those lines. Overall, really, really beautiful work that he introduced right here that really makes you kind of feel that this is, you know, a metal piece. It's gone through that weathering. It's gone through that kind of scraping, right? But it's all literally just the chassis, and it's just been layered through on paint. A beautiful attention to detail. Here you can see, of course, that printed based kind of form that we showed earlier all come together again, really brought to life with, of course, the paint. The paint really is, I think, the beautiful thing, and that's something that Ron does exceedingly well, right? He brings his experience and expertise, being somebody that has done that for years and in graphic design, and brought about that where you can really see the gradation, the depth, the contrast, the color theory all at play. Really some beautiful things here too. It's a little gruesome, but I love having just that little bit of gloss, right? That adds a little bit to kind of the shininess and kind of the goriness in there. Some pretty cool stuff. Pretty sweet. Overall, though, I think a really, really cool look and feel to the Chainsaw Man build. It's probably maybe my favorite. I don't know. A lot of them are really good. We're going to take a look at a couple of the other ones that were there with Diablo 4, Star Rail, Last of Us, and then of course there was also the Demon Slayer, and they were all really cool, but I really love the blue. I love the kind of composition for this build right here. We ended up changing this from being the ROG Strix card to the dual card, which I think worked a little bit better. This was a Z790p board in there, Tough Gaming LC, and then this I think was a 4070 dual in white as far as the core components that we have in there. But overall, really, really cool build. And you can kind of see we talked about the hardware. You guys can check out the stream. I think it's on Twitch, on iBuyPower's Twitch, where we kind of went through the process. And then this on the back is also really cool, where this again is a really beautiful kind of custom piece in there, and it's also on magnets, so you can literally take it off and you can put it back on. So pretty sweet. Overall, just really, really cool build. I thought it came out fantastic, and a lot of people really appreciated it. And even if you don't know anything about the anime, I think it looks overall really cool. Erica giving it some love right there. It says a nice build.
Remus PCs is saying very nice. And Michael also giving some love right there. But overall, it was cool to be able to talk to him about his process, go through the actual build itself, be able to see the craftsmanship and kind of the attention to detail. And pretty crazy. He put together, I think, 4 of these builds, and he ended up building all of them there on site at NA Expo over a few days. But getting all the work done in terms of printing, painting, shipping, modeling, was literally in a few weeks. It was absolutely insane. I gave him a huge amount of credit because to me, that's just nuts. Any builder will tell you, you know, just doing one build in a couple of weeks is a lot of work, right? And he got together, I think, all like 3 or 4 of them within a time frame, I think, less than a month, which was absolutely just crazy, right? Davina said it would be crazy if the chainsaws actually worked. Yeah, that would be pretty nuts. I don't know. That would be a little bit hazardous. One of the last things right here is I just wanted to show you. Here's a little bit of his workshop, right? And it's pretty cool to be able to see like all the paints right there, where you can see he's got everything from, of course, his you know, his group, his workbench, all the kind of the reference images and everything that kind of goes into the process where you're kind of trying things out, you're kind of going through different color gradations, you're trying different mixes to be able to kind of find that right value. And this is, I think, the beauty that he really brings to kind of the work into the detail, right? And it's a really kind of cool thing to be able to see that process kind of come together, right? So pretty cool stuff in that regard. So that is going to be the Chainsaw Man build from Blue Horse Studios. And overall, I think it was an awesome build. We're going to go ahead and take a look at some of the others right here. Again, that's a little bit of a shot on the inside if you wanted to see right there. Again, it's a Prime Z790P board, the dual card, and then we've also got the Tough Gaming fans in there. And just the scale of that size, you can just see how big it is, even compared to like where there's this 64090 right there. We have our Arion, our Azoth keyboard right there, but very, very cool build. The blue has serious Doctor Who TARDIS vibes. Yeah, I definitely agree. It's got some definitely kind of TARDIS vibes there. So the next build is going to be a really cool one, and also one that if you guys are familiar with, we did for a collaboration, an IP collaboration, and that's going to be the Demon Slayer, of course, collaboration. So here you guys can see what we did with the Demon Slayer. So again, another really cool print, right? Again, where you can see it's all getting out. You're going through, of course, cleaning up, getting everything all situated before it gets actually primed through. You can just see again here the sanding process, because you want that smoothness, you want those clean lines because you don't want them to kind of shine through. That can be also some of the differences depending on what you're printing in terms of whether you're using FDM versus resin, or even sometimes combining it. Sometimes something might be better for specific kind of details in like the head, or maybe fingers, or maybe the structure, right? There's a lot of different variability, but it's really cool to kind of see them get combined together. And here you can start to see kind of the paneling work come into getting played into on terms of the actual chassis. And again, kind of getting this laid out. Looks really, really cool. In the end, I really love this. And again, this is where the detail really starts to come to life. You can just see with the paint, just getting that texture, getting, of course, that grain in there, getting that contrast in there. These touches really just, I think, elevate the overall look and feel, right? And here you're almost starting to see the final form where it's all coming together. His wife there, Deborah, in the background, who was there on site with him. Fantastic to be able to see them, be able to come out and attend the event. So very, very cool. And I love the way this turned out, where it's just, again, hidden in the door, right? Pretty cool. And great way to kind of see it all come together. And of course, that had a whole bunch of the Demon Slayer hardware that we had, because as you guys know, we did a limited edition production collaboration with Demon Slayer, right? As far as an IP, just like what we did with ROG and Evangelion, and what we also did with the Gundam-based collaboration. So this one also came together. Michael notes, the extra bit of detail really makes it stand out. Yeah, Rima says multiple sheesh. Yeah, we're not even done. He did multiple builds, which was pretty nuts, all in work here towards this. And there you can kind of see the final form as it all came together there with the Demon Slayer card. I think it just looks beautiful, right? Great looking build and mod. Just that wood texture is really awesome, right? I mean, look at all this, right, where it's really, really subtle. It's just beautifully done. I mean, this I love, of course, the little etching right there, and these right here. This just is great. I just nailed it. Really, really did the character justice. A lot of people right here. Erica goes, this build is no joke. This build is no joke. The detail in the door is really nice. Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, right, you would think that this is wood, right? I mean, it's pretty crazy because that's the great job that he does. You know, there's a couple of builders that really kind of elevate the form and the feel, right? When you take a look at like Modding Cafe, AK Mod, right? Snef, you know, individuals that I think really do this amazing kind of synergy of bringing kind of the designs that they bring together, a theme, color, materials, composition, and kind of doing all these really, really cool stuff. And here, this is a great thing where, again, just really, really stunning work to see it all kind of come through together. And just rounding out here, just a little bit of attention to detail. I mean, again, you can see all the work that goes into, again, painting the units, getting in all these subtle details, which really were just amazing. And again, the amount of work and the amount of time to do this in a few weeks is pretty crazy. So that takes us to, let me see right here. Yeah, that's, okay, so we're there. We're not finished there. He then still further went on and he did another build for us. And this one was the Star Rail build, which of course is game. And here you can check this out. So this was in our Hyperion. So this is in our brand new large chassis. And here you see amazing custom paint on this Hyperion, which absolutely looks stunning. So a little bit less of kind of, I'd say, modding here. Still modding because you're painting, but you can see having to disassemble all of this to be able to go paint it, be able to bring the attention to detail right here. And again, we're talking about not one build, not two builds, not three builds, 4 builds that had to be completed. That's absolutely crazy in the time frame that he did it right here. But the finished vibes right here on this, absolutely love. I love this gold and purple combination. The graphics on there, beautiful. And of course, it was sitting there at the booth, right? And looks actually fantastic. I love this kind of soft pearlescence right here. This really nice gradient right here with that little bit of that gloss coat right there. It's always a little bit of shame at an event because you're gonna get tons of people kind of touching it and stuff like that, but absolutely really, really nice right there. Looks great. Do you know if he created the model that he printed or did he buy plans? So he does a mix. A lot of what he does, so we're going to show you another one right here where he actually leverages them from libraries and then has to print them out. And then he might do a little bit of, there's something in the community, if you guys are not familiar, it's called kit bashing, which sometimes allows you to kind of mix certain things up. So maybe you'll kind of take this and you'll put it together with something else and you'll put it together, right? But take, for instance, for the next one that we're going to look at, which was the Diablo mod that he did, that one was already actually something that was openly available and he downloaded that and then printed that out and then combined that together. But you know, combining it together with in terms of then painting it, right, and then doing kind of the layout and all those things, like you said, it's still a huge amount of work and a testament to, I think, kind of getting the entire look and feel and vibe, right, that are on there. But overall, that's another killer build, another killer vibe that's going on there with the Star Rail build. So right here, here this one came all together right here. Really, really cool vibes, I think, again, in terms of that gold and that purple. Really love this kind of smooth color gradient right here that it carries through from the top, goes all the way down, and then kind of runs through the back right there. Really, really nice. So that is going to be the Star Rail. Now let's wrap it up with maybe one of the most popular games to come out in a little bit of time, and that's going to be Diablo. And I think for a lot of people, a really, really cool build that he did here. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one. And give me 1 second right here. So this one, huge amount of time and work and effort here. So this is the Diablo 4 build and mod. So again, you can see amazing combination of FDM, of resin printing, and this kind of gives you an idea of where you can see kind of the combination of different types of printing being brought together, right, going into the entirety of the build, right? Here you can kind of get the sense of the difference. And then the really impressive part is, of course, finishing it and then painting it and making it all feel like it's one cohesive kind of item, right? And so here you can actually see kind of come together. It almost doesn't do it sense. We're going to look at like a couple of other images that'll give you kind of that scale, which is really beautiful in terms of just seeing how large it is. But you know, here you don't see any of the components. They're all stuffed inside the box. The beautiful part is really going to be all the work that's kind of gone in here on the exterior. So you don't really see any of the components that are in there. But overall, I still think a really cool system. And if you're a huge fan of the game and you love this, this could be a really cool kind of set piece to be able to just have in terms of kind of your desk setup, have a really cool vibe to it, and know that you've got all your hardware in there. But he still had to kind of think about where things are laid out, right? You still have to functionally make sure that the system works in terms of that it doesn't overheat, that things are accessible so that you can actually connect all the cables and route and everything. So there still is elements of ensuring true PC functionality, right, that have to go in here when that's all kind of being put together. And the cool thing, as I noted, he did all that work there, and then he built them with Snackson at the event, right? So he spread out throughout the 4 days. They pretty much built all of them. So he kind of prefabricated everything, shipped them all empty, and then built those there on site. And here you can kind of see the final form. Really, really cool vibes right there, right? So very nice detail. Yeah, wow. Michael goes, yeah, of course, Lilith, right. Hey, Justin. Right now, I can't help you in terms of your specific issue, but if you have any kind of specific issues and you're in North America, feel free to go ahead and reach out to our service support team, and they can work with you on whatever your issue may be. If you want to email me so that I can relay your case number, if you have one, or an RMA number, feel free to go ahead and do that. You can email me at pcdiy@asus.com, and I'll relay that over to our service team so that they can follow up with you. It's a little bit getting towards the end of the day here, so they might not be able to get to you before the end of today. So if not, it might be first thing Monday. But if you want, feel free, go ahead and email me, pcdiy@asus.com, with your case number or main number, and I will relay that over to a service team so that they can hopefully assist you, okay? Overall, though, I think a fantastic job that he did here in terms of the overall design in the layout and just really nailing the look and vibes. Definitely, when you look at this, amazing. And again, you can see, of course, all the work going into it, into a before and after type of process, right? Pretty amazing stuff here. And there you can kind of see all the things that ended up going in there. Some amazing hardware that, of course, ends up going in there that you don't end up seeing, but pretty sweet nonetheless. But overall, an amazing system. I love this shot more so, not so from what might be in there, but just more so from the scale, so you can see the size, right? If anybody knows the size of a motherboard box, then the size of this graphics card box and the cooler, those are all pretty big. So if you consider, if you stack this box on this box on this box, they're all only equaling the height of this overall build. You can just see how large it is. Pretty cool. Pretty amazing work. So let me go ahead, and I think I was able to have Ron fill out his submission form. So I want to see if I can bring it up really quick. And give me 1 second. And let me see if I can bring this up here. Mike Russo notes, great builder spotlight. Yeah, so this time, normally we try to spread it out, and I might maybe be able to squeeze one other build or two other builds here in the builder spotlight, but I wanted to be able to just spotlight Blue Horse. We have gone ahead and I think shown one or two other builds. I know that we featured their Intel Creators Channel build, which I thought was pretty awesome, right? But just, you know, being able to show, I think, the impressiveness of all that work and attention to detail was pretty amazing. And then on top of that, you consider the amount of work that he did within the time frame. That was even, I think, more impressive, right? So really, really cool stuff to be able to see, you know, ultimately all coming together. And there was even a last build. If you guys didn't see it, I'll go ahead and show this one off, that he brought over that wasn't there specific to that, but he also did a Last of Us build, which was also absolutely stunning. A really amazing one. If you guys, of course, are a fan of the series or fan of the game, right? Definitely one of the best IPs, you know, maybe in modern gaming history, right? But fantastic right here. The attention to detail, the paint. This little thing right here opens up, right, the grill, and then the whole system's inside of there. Really, really amazing work right here. Again, when you see, again, the printing, the painting, the attention to detail, right, all of this stuff, it's super, super cool. I love that when you actually turn this on too, it has a little bit of kind of like an amber kind of orange type of glow to it, which is pretty sweet, which just gives it a really cool vibe to it. It just kind of enhances the detail. Some crazy stuff right here. Definitely a little bit eerie and creepy, but it respects, of course, what the game is all about and the world and the design. Some really cool stuff in that regard. And again, if you're a modeler, if you've seen stuff in building, it's really cool to be able to see those details. Like I said, the flocking, the paint, the gradation, the detail that's all in there. It was a great piece to be able to have. So all of these builds ended up surrounding the entire area that we had there in terms of the ASUS PCDIY booth, the iBuyPower booth. So they were, you know, pretty much 5 amazing builds that you could be able to see there from Blue Horse Studios. And again, with 4 of those being built on site, that's pretty amazing. Yeah, I don't have the submission form from them on that side, but again, I want to show a huge thumbs up. Amazing work, Ron. Hats go off to you, man. That's truly some masterclass building and modding on display. It's amazing stuff. And if you guys aren't, make sure to go ahead and check out his social channels. You guys can check out Blue Horse Studios, their website. I'm going to go ahead and link that in the chat, so give me 1 second right here. And he's also got a very, very cool, I think, if I remember correctly, there's actually a pretty cool kind of like a full video on that actually Last of Us builds that you can check out actually his YouTube channel. So give me a second right here. Yeah, I think I have it right here. So why don't you guys go ahead and drop a like, check that out. Pretty cool stuff. All right. Okay, there we go. Very cool. All right, so let's go ahead, and I think I can fit in one more in here, so let's go ahead and do that. What's the last submission I have in here? This is going to be, oh, okay. This is going to be from Justin. All right. I think I know which one this one is. This was a beautiful build, so let me go ahead and load this up. Hopefully next week. I think next week, hopefully, it's always a little bit tricky on how many products we end up launching. But next week we'll probably have a few more. I think I still have in the submission queue for the PCDIY Builder Spotlight that we can get through from some prior submissions that I haven't run through yet. So I will make sure to hopefully get up to speed on covering those pending submissions as well. So if you guys have dropped one in there, you haven't seen it, I will get you there. Don't worry. Okay, and what's the name? Did he name this one? No name. All right, guys, so everybody knows when we don't get a name, right, that means you guys get to name it. So let me know. This is from Justin Chu Customs, right? JC Customs, right? So hold on 1 second. Oh, there we go. No name. All right, so let me know, guys, what we're going to call this one. And I think we've had some pretty good names because we've had some ones in the past where I think people have used before the purple and kind of white vibes, which is what we have here in this build. So I'm going to be interested to see if we have some similar names or we have some different names. Oh, cool. And he added in some video for me. All right, cool. All right, I like it. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, so let's go ahead and see right here. So right off the bat, we can see that this is pretty interesting. So let me know if anybody notices. This is a Maximus Extreme, but the first thing you notice is that color on the Extreme is what color? It's a white Extreme. And so there's actually not only some amazing building and modding going on here, but some customization, right? So definitely on the modding side. So of course the Maximus Extreme only comes in black. It does not come in white. So we've only made white boards like we have the Formula, we have the Apex, which have been in white, but not the Extreme. So here you can actually see there's actually some white that's occurred here, and I think it came out beautifully. I love actually the balance here that we have the white, we've got the black, we've got the purple, and then we have Of course, also the silver in there, and just a really cool kind of layout that we're going to see throughout the build. Some also nice touches right here where we've got the actual DIMM.2 adapter as well, which is also not in black. It's also an alternate color. I don't know if he pulled it from maybe the older Z590 Glacial model, or if he actually painted or modded the one that actually comes with the Extreme, because the one that comes with the Extreme again is also black, right? Now here we're starting to see some cool stuff. You can see that on the inside we've got a screen on the inside of the build, right? And we're going to go ahead and see this as we kind of pull out. Love the block choice in right here to not go with a kind of full block, even though we just showed off that beautiful kind of a full metal block. This is where it's kind of nice, where you can see just a nice little bit of color right there to a more kind of transparent fluid. I think adds a really nice element of kind of consistency and color vibe in there with that soft purple that complements that purple in there. And then you have that contrast with the silver, the black, and the white. It's looking really good. Really nice. Also see Bits Power in there, one of my favorite water cooling manufacturers, right? We can see this is all inside the new Lian Li chassis, right? Of course, over there from Stuart Tonks, right? And Lian Li and crew. Loving this block. This block looks absolutely beautiful on there. Really cool to kind of the way it shows off the PCB, shows off the actual fluid and the colors. Some amazing, of course, also photography here is kind of tying also together. Now we're starting to get the fuller picture. We're starting to get a little bit more as we start to pull away. We can start to actually see what is going on in here. And so there, now we can actually see the full shot of the system, and a beautiful build right here. Really nicely laid out. So some really nice things here that are not crazy. Of course, there's a huge amount of time and work and effort in here, and that's crazy. But in terms of not going crazy, in terms of like just using the space to use the space, right? There's really been care, I think, to try to have a nice layout that's not obscene in kind of any one area, right? There's a nice balance in there, and really kind of trying to give your eye a little bit of room to breathe, but also kind of giving you some variation. So I really love here these angles, the angles playing to angles that we also have on the physical design on the product, where we have slat and angles right here, which is really cool. The nice, clean, consistent UI and look and feel there from what you have on the screen, and the visualization of the stats. Even though that totally goes against, of course, the ROG guidelines in terms of how that's been implemented, it's beautifully kind of done right here. Really nice. Love that white backdrop right there, and then with that purple accent in there. The uni fans look really nice in there, and they have that nice kind of clean, modern type of design aesthetic, which complements the flow and vibes here. I love the way that they actually come through here, and the bottom actually grills, where you have that kind of dual tone effect, where you have the light here, and then you've got those little angle points right there that I think look really nice. That chrome tubing just pops. It's not crazy, but just going from this from the CPU. And then that GPU run is really interesting, where you can see right here, it goes vertical, and then it goes out right there, and then goes into the back into that reservoir. I think looks really cool. Just that execution, the layout, all of those are kind of attention to details that really help to elevate the overall look and feel of the build. Beautifully done. Great job. And probably the most thing that's testament here is similar to what we just seen kind of Blue Horse, is that when you see something that feels cohesive, that's a huge just props, right? Because even though he's totally modded the board and he's modded elements right here, this all feels like it's just supposed to be like that, which is a testament to a really great build. Of course, you can see his logo right there, the ROGI. Looks fantastic all the way around, right? Absolutely love that block. That block just looks gorgeous right there. Of course, with the active backplate, you totally don't need the active backplate, but the active backplate does look really cool in terms of this design when you're kind of going to the front and to the back to be able to see that visual. The really nice design there on the 90-degree angled connector, right? I love the actual choice here to go with white fittings. I think those white fittings coming off the black just give you a nice little contrast. And even though, yeah, you could have made this white, it actually, again, the black is kind of going here with the anime display matrix and other black parts. So again, shows you not everything has to match, right? It's about creating contrast, about creating different types of tones and feels. So really nice there in terms of the overall look and feel. And I think it even looks even better once you actually put the side panel on. It just gives it a little bit of kind of this windowed and silhouette effect in there. And just it's like there's this super premium performant kind of system, right? The system is alive and running there. Looks fantastic. Looks really cool. Show Computers goes, beautiful build, awesome little touches and execution. I haven't seen anybody yet say, do we have a name yet? Because remember, we don't have it. Oh, Michael, is that the name that you're hinting at? Just a hint of color. I actually like that. Does ASUS make white fans? Yes, we do. We have our white fans shipping this month, the Tough Gaming LC 120 fans. We actually showed those off, those white fans there in the Ron Lee Christianson build, the Blue Horse Studios build in Chainsaw Man. Those were actually the white Tough Gaming fans. Yep. Brilliant color combination right there. Technos is the chrome pipe and the white bits power fittings complement each other, and the purple color and the screen look great. Ooh, Violet Ice. That's a pretty cool name. I'm digging that, right? That sounds like a pretty good option. Play TH9000 says, do we have an ETA on the Matrix? Not yet. I can't give you any details on it. Rest assured, when we're ready to launch the model, we will release all the information in terms of the PCDIY group and here on the weekly stream when we have the pricing availability details. Again, just make sure to watch out because it is going to be a limited edition based option right there. Remus PC says the XF120 fans have grown me on a bit. I told you they're good fans, man. Those maglev bearing fans, the long cable design. If you're just looking for a nice, high quality black fan, it's a great choice. Very, very good choice. And very few fans on the market that feature that premium of a bearing, and the price is quite reasonable. They're quite a bit cheaper than even something like a really, really nice like T30 or Noctua, based fan, and you're going to get a great bearing. Really nice RPM curve. They support 0 dB operation mode, so that means they support full fan stop. Great choice. But for those white fans, those Tough Gaming 120 fans, I'm a big fan of them. Pun intended, pun intended. So here I think we've got a little bit of a video right here. Let's go ahead and take a look at this video. And looks great. Just love seeing that animation right there. It's the V3000 Plus. Again, over from Stuart Tonks, right? This is his kind of collaborative edition version. We can see right here, love that distro. Look at that distro attention detail right there, that custom integration right there with the Bits Power logo in there. Looks absolutely stunning. All that Bits Power water cooling hardware from the block to the CPU. Really like those nice clean bends and those fittings there going all into the back of course, that distro plate. It's a really, really nice way to implement the distro plate. It's a very, very clean and polished level of execution. It's minimal and refined where you don't see all of these tubing runs, but you still get an amazing level of performance, and the IDE looks really nice and spaced out. Again, this is a really big chassis, and that's actually a big challenge in itself, right? Is sometimes taking a chassis this big and using that space, which can actually be quite difficult, and having it seem that it's not empty, but it's not super filled. Solid job. I mean, just a real, just beautiful build. Really, really nicely done. So overall, that gets a serious thumbs up from me. Fantastic job, Justin. You again have done a great job at just the fit, the finish, the quality, the theme of the execution. You add into that your nice execution when it comes to you liking to mod our parts here. I know you earlier talked about wanting to be able to mod a Matrix. You've continued on offering, I think, a great point of inspiration for the community. So overall, very cool to see. Performance Blizzard is Mike Russo's feedback there for a name, right? And then let's see, Davina goes one more right there. So ICE for intrusion countermeasures electronics from cyberpunk literature. Ah, I get that. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. So overall, pretty cool. Great build. I think we got some good names there. We can see if we can bug Justin on whether or not he'll take up those names. So with that guys, that wraps up our PCDIY Builder Spotlight, and that wraps up this week's stream. So hopefully everybody enjoys their Friday night, has a good weekend. Hopefully you guys are playing some good games, a lot of cool stuff. Let me know. Are you guys going to check out something on the Steam sale? Steam sale is going on right now, right? How many games do you have in your library that you haven't even played? Drop in the chat how many are left to be played and whether or not you're going to be picking something up. With that, guys, take care, take it easy, enjoy the rest of your day, and stay safe and stay healthy, and look forward to seeing you guys in the PCDIY group. Take care. Bye-bye.